part of my journey, is, of course, as a later teenager, I started seeing some things and kind of deciding who I thought I wanted to be, deep down, not the exterior guy that I was trying to show people, that I was going to be some sort of rock star, or, just that kind of lifestyle. But what I'd always really wanted to be was a dad, to be a husband, and of course a musician. But I was kind of looking for an identity, and I was really confused, And between, going through pain, and everybody goes through pain, suffering some losses and struggles and just different things. I went through some hardships, even in a small town, people that you really look up to, maybe even sometimes in the local church, that may not be correct, or may not be, and adults, if we're not careful, can speak things into kids' lives that should never be said. And then for me, I think that some of that even happened, and I gravitated towards what people said about me. I'm not going to blame them. I'm a grown man now, But I think some of that kind of befell me too, that, if this is what people are saying about me and that's what they believe, then I prove it true. Yeah. So, and not only, I think that there was a part of me that said, not only am I going to prove it true, but I'm going to take some of their kids with me.
This is the incredible story of Barry Smith, who went from complete street punk to an amazing man of God. Listen now on 15 Minutes of Miracles and DaleWileyShow.com to learn more about this amazing man.
And so there was kind of a hurt and a spite and a rebellion in me too, and so I not only partook in that lifestyle, but I began to find kids that, maybe I felt like their parents didn't give me a fair shot and said, hey, let me show you something, and I
really,
and I became that bad influence in some of their lives that they had said I was, when I hadn't been yet. And so, part of the driving force of what's in my heart now is not only, as I got older and I had kids, and everything I always said when I was younger that I would never be, I became, all of the negative traits. Of course, I went on this journey to seek who is Barry, who am I,
Sure.
Because surely my kids and my wife deserve better than what I've created.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
And so, while my kids were still fairly young and my relationship with my wife was fairly new, I began to make attempts to better my life, and kind of pull out of that lifestyle. I several attempts at rehab, I went into rehab a few different times, but I remember the biggest breakthrough early on. Somebody had asked me, one of my counselors, they said, Barry, do you even want to quit? And
really?
With all sincerity and a complete broken heart, I said, no, but I want to quit. And I just had to be honest with myself, with them. Do I want to stop living this life? No, but I want to stop. I want something else bad enough to leave this. And
yes.
And after I said that, it was later on that evening that we went to a service at a church called New Harmony Baptist Church in Salem, Missouri. And while they were giving a message, God just really began to speak to my heart. I really started to have faith again for the first time in a long time. And I mean, so long that the last time that I'd really felt loved by God and comforted by God, I think I was 8 years old, and it was at the church camp, the Methodist church camp out there in Halltown,
Okay.
And then as I was seeking God, all these feelings started to happen, and good ones, bad ones, feelings from somewhere in between, but just like all the stuff I'd numbed myself to for a long time, it was like God was just putting it in front of me.
That would be a great beginning to the story, but it was definitely not the end. Not in Barry's case.
So as I was coming out of it, and I was trying to reform my life, I ran into some people. And listen, some of these people that I met are people right now that the church would have nothing to do with to this day. And God used these people to love me and to draw me closer to Him. And it's surprising, and I could start listing some names and some crimes and some just different things that some of these people even are struggling with still. But man, it doesn't change how God used them to bless me.
Yeah, exactly.
Romans 8:28 says that He makes all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and are called according to His purpose.
Right.
And that's one of my life scriptures. Whenever I don't understand something, I just say, you know what? Faith says you're going to make this work.
Right.
And so as I was going through those changes, and there were times I had high spots and low spots. I've yet to meet anybody in the church who has arrived.
Unless they're dead. That's the only arrival point.
well, and I have to admit, Dale, that there was a time that I was kind of struggling in my faith, and I'd fallen back into drinking some, and this was after me and my wife had been through some stuff, and I think I was around 28, 29 years old, and I was getting pretty active on Facebook while I was drinking, and I was kind of my grandstand.
That's a bad combination.
And, you had said something to me one time, and, some people go on Facebook to ridicule people or to hurt their feelings or make them, see their point of view. And you had said something to me that has, even to this day, I hear that echo sometimes, and it changes the way that I think, and it gives me humility again. You said, Barry, I'm going to tell you the truth. No matter how much we love Jesus, we're all still kind of turds.
Okay, I don't remember saying that, but that's great that you hear that.
That's
awesome.
Well, because that's the reality, I love God, and He's changed my life in so many ways. But man, sometimes I just feel like a turd floating in living water. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, me and my wife were, and that was at a time where I was really trying to seek again too. I kind of went back into my own way. I even started, selling marijuana again and things like that, and I just thought that I was doing it better. I was more professional now. I was selling it to people out at Stonebridge.
People.
Yeah, professional people, So now that I'm selling drugs to professional folk and retired folk out at
high-class drug dealing.
Right.
Exactly.
High-class clientele, no drama, you know what I mean, just money.
Right.
But I'd started to seek the Lord because I remember I'd had a time where I was in the backyard and I was drinking beer, and one of my daughters came up to me, and they were just little then, and she said, "Daddy, I want to show you something." I said, "Not right now, I'm busy," and I kind of pushed her to the side a little, and And right after that happened, the old country song came on, "Walk a Little Straighter, Daddy." And it broke my heart, man, because I realized that God was trying to talk to me through that song, because it says, "Walk a little straighter, Daddy. You're leading me." And so as I realized that's what God was saying is, hey, look at what I've given you. Look at this blessing. Look at this family. What are you going to do with it? And I was just kind of broken, and I said, well, God, I don't know what to do, and that was kind of where I laid that down.
Okay.
Well, I prayed a little bit, and then I just kind of put that to the side. And I remember a couple days later, me and my wife had a discussion, and I needed to quit the drinking, and and of course she was upset, because I was focused on that and not on our family.
Sure. Right.
And so I tried to quit drinking, and it had been, I think, 4 or 5 days. And I was trying to quit everything. I even had called a guy, and it's really sad. It's a strange turn of events. The guy that I called to get rid of the last of the marijuana I had, which is a couple of pounds.
Wow.
He came and got it from me, and he was actually the first guy that had ever sold me marijuana. So I bought my first from him, and he bought my last from me.
Okay.
And he's a close friend. I won't say his name, but he died not much longer after that. They'd said it was a suicide. With who was the people he was involved with, I have a hard time believing that. But anyway, and that was on me too. Thinking about that and going through that pain. And I was I started seeking God again, but I was still struggling. And one night I'd gotten into my daughter's piggy bank, and I'd stolen change out of it so I could go to Crane and get some Oxycontin. So I stole the money, and I went and I got Oxycontin. And I remember pulling into my driveway, and I'd snuck out. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning while my whole family was in there sleeping. I stole money from my daughter, and here I am sitting in my driveway getting ready to get high with the money that I stole from my daughter. I'm at a place where I'm trying to get my life together, but I'm so weak. And I remember just saying, God, if you're real, and if you love me, and not like church folks talk about, but I mean, if you're the God that created this earth with your word, you can heal me. And I believe you, but I need you to show me. And man, for the next 2 hours, I was like paralyzed by love, dude. I mean, I don't know any other way to explain it. I just, all of a sudden I had a complete peace over me. I didn't need that drug, I didn't need anything. And it was a really intimate moment with God. And I just said, God, put somebody in my life. I need people,
Right.
And I was thinking about folks in the church, and I really didn't want any of them. Just to be honest,
That's very honest and extremely humbling.
Well, but that's just kind of where I was at. I was like, I don't need judgment. I need help.
Right.
I don't need somebody to tell me that I need to be better. Everybody knows we need to be better.
Right.
Everybody wants to be the best version they can of themselves, but God put somebody in my life that's going to help me be who you want me to be. And then a few days later, of course, I'm trying to stay sober, but man, I've always got this itch to play that guitar. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can start a band, And so I called my brother Rick, and I said, hey man, do you know any musicians in the scene right now looking to do anything? And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to start a rock project, just something here local, nothing big,
Sure.
And he was like, well, I know this bass player. He's come around the shop a few times. I worked on some stuff for him, and his name's Richard. They call him Thumper. He said, I'll give you his number. And I was like, okay, cool. So he gives me the number, and I call him, and Thumper shows up out at my house, and I've never met him before. And I look out my window, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to let this dude in my house or not. I mean, big dude with leathers and a long hair and a do-rag and smoking a cigarette. And, I don't know if I want this dude in my house or not.
You're going to have to listen to the entire interview with Barry Smith to hear the rest of that story. It's available at DaleWileyShow.com.